speeder pulled over on the side of the road. Blue lights flashing across the night sky as patrol cars swarm a crime scene. Uniformed officers watching a school zone as students get out of class for the day. These scenes play out every day across Ohio, but protecting and serving the community goes beyond a regular shift. Did you know that the men and women who keep your community safe are also part of the largest law enforcement fundraiser in the world? I'm Andy Wilson, Director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety. And in this episode of Safe and Sound, we're talking about the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics. Now, look, this is an event that is kind of near and dear to my heart. It's near and dear to my heart because I've had the opportunity to participate in a couple aspects of the Torch Run. And if you have never experienced the Torch Run, if you're in law enforcement and you're public safety, if you support law enforcement and public safety across the state, and you've never had the opportunity to participate in the Torch Run, I just can't recommend it enough. I had the opportunity a couple years ago to participate in the final leg of the Torch Run. And when you run into that stadium and you do that final lap, it'll bring tears to your eyes. It's such an amazing event. And we, as supporters of this event, and when I say we, I'm talking about public safety officials, law enforcement across the state, we have a unique opportunity to go and do it. And I would encourage everybody who's listening to this to take advantage of that opportunity. Also, with the Torch Run comes the opportunity to help with some of the fundraising through the Polar Plunge. And I will tell you this firsthand, there is nothing that can bring a unit, a shift, a group together like jumping into one of our frozen lakes or nearly frozen lakes in the middle of the winter. And again, it's such a great experience. It's a fun experience for everyone involved, and it helps with such a great cause. And we have three awesome guests here today who are very passionate about the Torch Run. Haley Melcher, she's the Development Director for the Special Olympics of Ohio. Haley, welcome.
Thank you.
And then also joining us, we have Brandon Long. Brandon is in the Criminal Investigations Division. He's a detective with the Hilliard Division of Police. Brandon, it's good to see you again.
You as well.
And finally, this event is it's a great opportunity for members of law enforcement, as I talked about, to bond, to come together, not just in the event itself, but through physical fitness, through getting ready to do the run in the weeks and the months leading up to the Torch Run. And we know without a doubt that physical fitness and exercise, moving your body, is just such an incredible mental health boost to our first responders. It creates resiliency. It helps us really kind of off gas and deal with the stress that comes with the job. And this is such a great excuse, kind of, again, to go shoulder to shoulder, get in shape a little bit, prepare yourself for the run, and support such a great cause. And we're proud here at the Ohio Department of Public Safety to have really our own expert here that we have just recently hired at Public Safety in our Office of First Responder Wellness, and that is Sandy Fent. Sandy, welcome to the Safe and Sound podcast, and welcome to the DPS team.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's an honor.
So, Haley, listen, we're going to start out the gate with you. If you could, just kind of take some time, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us, more importantly, about the Law Enforcement Torch Run and its mission.
So I have been with Special Olympics Ohio a little over 2.5 years now, which is actually crazy to think about, that it's already been that long. I had always wanted to be involved with nonprofit, just helping people. So when the opportunity came available with Special Olympics Ohio, I jumped on it very quickly. My daughter was 4 months old at the time when I started. And a little less than a year into the organization, my time there, she was actually diagnosed with a developmental disability. So this definitely hits home. It's become a family for me. The families, the athletes, they all just gathered around. And they just are such a great support team with each other. Our athletes are, and these two can attest to it as well, amazing. I mean, they want to go out, they want to compete, they want to be fit, they just want to be included. So that's the big mission of Special Olympics Ohio, is just promoting inclusion statewide. So with the Law Enforcement Torch Run program, it is a way for our law enforcement and our first responders to connect with those athletes in their community and promote that inclusion across the state, across the nation, across the world.
So let's actually back up a little bit. Let's talk about Special Olympics. So we're making an assumption that everybody knows just exactly what Special Olympics is or what it is comprised of. But actually, what is it? Is it games all year? What kind of events? Who's involved? Could you tell us a little more broadly about Special Olympics?
Yeah, so Special Olympics Ohio is actually built on 4 core programs. So we obviously sports is our largest. So sports is what we are built around. We want to be seen as a legitimate sports organization. But in addition to that, we also have health and wellness. So we actually provide free health screenings at each of our state games, which happen 3 times throughout the year. So we have winter, we have summer, and then we have fall games. So we offer free health screenings so you can walk away with free glasses and hearing aids, free pair of tennis shoes, different health and wellness screenings. So it's a really cool opportunity for our athletes and their families to get in front of doctors that they normally either are scared to see or don't have the option or ability to get in front of. In addition, we also have our inclusive schools, so our UCS, our Unified Champion Schools. So that is just building that inclusion within the school system. So as kids grow up together, they're being paired, someone with and without disabilities. So they're learning to take that into the world with them and just, again, that inclusive mindset. And then we also have our athlete leadership program, which really promotes leadership within our athletes, really helping them to grow, get out into the workforce, have speaking engagements, and just become leaders within their own communities.
So tell us about the games themselves.
Yeah.
Again, what kind of events are part of the games? Is there preliminary competitions? Is it culminating the summer games or the games that I've been involved with? How does that work?
Yeah, so we actually offer 19 Olympic-style sports year-round, all free to the athletes. So at summer games, that's where 9 of those sports take place. So that's definitely our biggest event of the year is state games there. But we have winter games, which offers 3 sports, and then we have fall games, which offers 4 different sports. And that's all at the state level. So building up to that point, we can also do local sporting events. So that is like, for instance, within the Hilliard Special Olympics, they can offer different just local kind of get together, practice, be fit, but it's not necessarily a competition. From there, you can compete in the regional games, and then that gets you to qualify for state games.
Okay, so the athletes that I've seen compete in the state games, they're athletes who have actually qualified to get there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any idea how many athletes we have across the state?
So we say about 20,000, give or take.
And if I am a person with special needs or I have a child who has special needs, how do I go about participating or having my child participate?
Yeah. So I would just direct everyone to our website, which is sooh.org. There's a Get Involved button, so they can just go there and they can sign up, and it connects them with their local community-based program. And that would be the best route to go to get involved and get started.
So it seems, again, somewhere along the line, there's been this special bond between the Special Olympics, the Special Olympic athletes, and law enforcement. Tell us about that. Do you know the history of that? How did that come to be?
So back in 1981, got to get our history correct. In Wichita, Kansas, it actually started with 5 law enforcement members, and they decided, hey, we want to carry the torch into summer games and start what's called the Torch Run and make it a fundraiser. And it's just built and grown over the years. Now it is a worldwide organization or part of our organization. We've raised over $1 billion at this point just with the law enforcement Torch Run programs alone across the world.
That's great. And actually, since we're moving into the law enforcement participation, I want to move to Brandon now. Obviously, Brandon, you're incredibly passionate about this issue, about this event, and tell us how you initially got into it and kind of what your experience has been.
Way back, my first involvement was in the military, and somebody told me to go run along the street somewhere, and I carried the torch, and I had no idea what I was doing. Looking back now, I obviously understand a lot better. When I got to Hilliard and started working there, it was an annual thing that we did. Actually, Sandy would come in and bring the torch, and we'd run through our community and alongside our athletes. So that initial few years of involvement, being a runner led to a call one night, and I networked with a local athlete in Hilliard, and that spawned a call with the Hilliard Special Olympics coordinator. And she was a fantastic salesperson, which truly this cause doesn't take a whole lot of selling. It sells itself. And next thing you know, I was coaching. And for the past 10 or 11 years, I've coached locally basketball, tennis, golf, softball, helped on different causes there. And then that just sort of led to understanding the greater involvement of the torch run on a state scale and also on a national and global scale as well.
For those officers and those agencies who are out there listening, and when I say officers, I'm talking deputies, troopers, patrol officers who are listening, or to their agencies. What advice would you have? How would you encourage them if they haven't participated to participate and kind of learn more about this?
Find out, network with, either contact Haley or I, and we can share that information, or go to the Special Olympics site and look at the torch run. Reach out to us. We can connect you with whatever your local program is, or take the initiative and find out. Your SROs are a good option. Talk to your SROs, talk to their life skills classes, and sort of figure out who your contact person is locally and get involved with them. And there's so many opportunities from that. I mean, it could be unofficial things like a cookout or an open house for special needs, where you invite them in to be familiar with your gear and your equipment. That way, when the call happens, it's not the first time that they're hearing the sirens and seeing the lights and seeing that overwhelming amount of equipment that you have. So bring them into the fold on that. Find out when their practices are. Stop at their practices. Go to their games. Play a scrimmage with them. We've done basketball scrimmages, volleyball scrimmages, and that is a blast. I'm not sure who likes it more, us or the athletes, but that goes a long way. It goes to being that familiarity and knowing them, whether it's you're walking around downtown or you're at the 4th of July parade, and then everybody recognizes each other. So when that call happens, that call where somebody's in crisis, they know you and they relate to you, and you can de-escalate that situation, is my experience. So reach out to your locals, find a way to get involved, scrimmage with them, practice with them, go cheer them on at one of their local competitions. If there's a regional games in your area, we can help you out with that. Award some medals, walk around, meet the parents, meet the siblings, meet the athletes, just get to know them and who they are. They embody a lot of the characteristics that we look for in public safety. So I think that's why it's a perfect partnership.
Yeah. So one of the things that stood out to me when I ran that final lap, when I did the torch run, or the final leg, was just the genuine joy that the athletes had in the law enforcement, public safety officials who were supporting them. I mean, they were out there. You run around, you give high fives to everybody, and the athletes were just over the moon with respect that we were there supporting them, and they had, again, first responders that cared enough about them to kind of come and give their time. What have been your observations when you work with the athletes and you have law enforcement officers, you have first responders who are giving their time? How is that received by the athletes?
Oh, they love it. I mean, I hate to say that we're heroes, and I don't like to refer to us in that way. We're just kind of doing an important job, or a job in the community. I look at the athletes as heroes, but yeah, the joy and the friendship, it becomes like a family. We do an annual softball game in Hilliard, and it's one of the events that everybody looks forward to. We have the fire department play against our Hilliard softball team. Then we do a game in the middle with fire versus police. And then we do police versus Special Olympics, and they absolutely look forward to that event. I mean, everybody is excited. They're talking about it on Facebook. By this point, a lot of the athletes are friends with first responders, so that they know who their families are. They're commenting on their stuff. But yeah, come that day, there is trash talk, there is competition, there are laughs, and just a whole lot of fun. I don't know, again, who gets more joy out of it, us or the athletes. I think everybody wins.
So I'm going to tell you a quick story, and these athletes take this stuff very seriously. So I was an elected prosecutor back in a county, and we did a charity basketball game with Special Olympics basketball players. And we brought in elected officials and business leaders from across the community to play against this team. And I'm telling you, we went 100% against this team. We gave everything that we could possibly give against it. It was a great turnout. And I think they doubled our score up. I think they ended up beating us like 80 to 40. And as we were playing, the game it took this weird twist. You get in there, and again, you don't really know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know how we were going to play. Like, okay, what's the deal here? How are we going to do this? Man, we were going 100 miles an hour. We were giving everything we could, and we could not stop them. We could not stop them from scoring. I'm like, oh, okay, I see how this is working. So, and it was just a great event. And what I remember about it, again, you talk about smack talking, like not only were we losing, but these kids, they were embarrassing us. I mean, they were smack talking up and down the court. And I'm like, I just remember at some point feeling like, wait a second, this isn't supposed to be happening like this. This isn't how this is supposed to happen. But it was a great event. And I remember this. I would then see some of the kids who had played against us out on the streets, and they'd continue to smack talk. And the game was over. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, oh, when you coming again? You don't want any more, stuff like that. It was such a good experience. So I would encourage anybody who has the opportunity, especially because a lot of times I think as law enforcement, first responders, we think of it as a job. We don't see ourselves. You don't see yourself as a hero. You don't see yourself as really special. You just go do the job. It's what you do. It's what you're expected to do. So you kind of take it like that, and you forget a lot of times how you are viewed really as a hero by certain segments of the population. And when you have the opportunity to spend time with people who see you as a hero, you should take that opportunity. You absolutely should. So I'm going to move over to Sandy Fent now. Sandy, you're obviously new to the DPS team. You're certainly not new to law enforcement. You're certainly not new to fitness and wellness, and you're certainly not new to the law enforcement torch run. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit, before we go into the torch run stuff, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about your new role here at Public Safety.
Okay, so I started in law enforcement in 1996 with the Greene County Sheriff's Office. After 3.5 years, I moved to Springfield Police Division, where I was Uniform Patrol, Safe Streets Task Force, and then in 2008 moved to the Detective Bureau, where I was the crimes against persons, one of the crimes against persons in the juvenile division, investigating crimes against juvenile, sex crimes, and then missing persons. And in September of this year, I took a big leap of faith and decided to retire and come work for DPS. So, and I took a position with the Law Enforcement Initiatives, the First Responder Physical Wellness Administrator. I have been I had been the fitness specialist with our department since about 2010. And prior to that, I was also an academy instructor with Clark State Police Academy. In April of this year, I opened up my own gym. So every day I'm working in fitness in some realm or another. How I got involved with the Special Olympics was just prior to actually starting with Greene County. A friend of mine, her name was Alice, and she was running the torch run through Springfield, and so I hopped in the run with her. And then participated in every one since then, or at least helped organize at some level, whether I was the contact for the regional southwest leg of Ohio. I participated all the way through my entire career, so 28 years of being involved. I was fortunate enough to be at one point the coordinator of the southwest leg. So kind of in charge from Cincinnati all the way up to the final leg in Columbus for the Special Olympics Ohio Summer Games, and then for the final leg. In 2018, I was selected to as Ohio law enforcement to go to the USA Games in Seattle, Washington. at which point I roomed with an athlete from Oklahoma, and her name was Amy, and so her father was a retired lieutenant from Tulsa Police Department. That the group of people, our team, which was Team 3, still talk almost daily. The bonds that we've created, and this was in, 6 years ago. We still talk. I get private messages from Amy, smack talking about Ohio State and Oklahoma, and I'll get phone calls from her dad, still. And then we have a whole nother thread of conversation that goes on between officers from Alaska to Wyoming, literally all over the country, Maine. So they're relationships and networking that we've developed over the years. They're invaluable and they're precious. Also at the 2018 games, didn't know this was a thing, but they selected me to carry the torch into the opening ceremonies for the summer games, for the USA games, which was once again an honor, and was able to carry that torch in with an athlete from Pennsylvania who I still talk to today. So the bonds that we make with these kids, and I call them kids because most of them are younger than me, but they're priceless, and they are just held deep within my heart. And it doesn't matter, at least with our jobs, how bad things get, how stressful they get. At the weirdest times, you'll get a quick message from one of them or that group, and it just kind of brings you back to what really matters.
So let's talk a little bit about, for our law enforcement partners out there, the torch run itself. So how does it come into the state? You all have participated. How does it come into the state? Where does it go? What route does it take, and how does it work? So if I'm a law enforcement agency and I want to participate, how do I join? How do I participate?
Yeah, so right now we have about 70 legs that run throughout the state. So we started the Monday leading into our summer games weekend from the 4 corners of the state. And as a department or an agency, if you're interested in creating a route, we have what we call regional directors within our Law Enforcement Torch Run State Council who organize those legs and help schedule you Monday through Friday. And then we just make sure the torch gets to you. You guys kind of work internally within your community to create the route, to make sure everything is safe. We have a fundraising page where all the routes are listed, and we fundraise alongside that. And it all then culminates at our opening ceremonies that Friday evening, starting from OSP Academy all the way to Ohio State. Typically, we've always done it at Jesse Owens Stadium, which is the track stadium at OSU. This year, we got into Ohio Stadium. So we're really hoping to bring that back in 2025 for our official 50th anniversary as Special Olympics Ohio. So more to come there.
That's great. So you start at the 4 corners of the state, and do you actually run that torch all the way into Columbus? All the way, it actually goes to the Patrol Academy, or how's that work?
Yeah, so we have 4 torches that kind of start. Some actually hand off to one another based on where the routes are, and obviously just keeping it safe and day to day. And then those regional directors will take that torch and pass it on to the next route as they begin. But yeah, it runs through those 4 corners from Monday through Friday, and then we finally light it all together. All 4 of those come together, and we light one, and that runs into the stadium that evening to light the cauldron.
That's great. And we talked about Friday, Saturday, but when does this actually happen? What time of year does this actually happen? What
June.
month?
So
Okay.
this year it's a little bit earlier. So June 13th to the 15th is state games this year. So that Monday of that week,
The 9th?
the 9th. So that Monday we will start the torch run. And then that Friday, June 13th is when we will have opening ceremonies. We usually kick off the final leg at the Academy with a program around 6:30 p.m. Opening ceremonies officially starts at 7 and runs till about 7:45, 8 o'clock.
Okay. And I know I always hesitate to do this because whenever you name one agency, you ultimately leave an agency out. But who are some of your agencies across the state that are really all in? Some of the law enforcement departments or sheriff's offices that are max participants. And the only reason I'm asking you this is if I'm an officer or a deputy out, in Northeast or Northwest Ohio, somewhere like that, and I want to reach out to an agency that does it well, just kind of talk about it. Who does it well? And I don't expect you to. I don't want you to leave anybody. I'm not asking for that. Just give a couple agencies that are really kind of your model agencies.
Yeah, I'll ask Sandy and Brandon to jump in on these as well. This year, Canton was a big one. Canton Police Department or Safety Services. They were actually the top fundraising team for the year. They have a really good showing. They actually end at the Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's
so
great.
It's a really cool area up there. Springfield, I think, is always a big one for us. I think you guys have the longest route, too.
No, so probably now, but Dayton PD and their SWAT team, they'll actually come out. Some of them, and if they have a new SWAT officer, they'll run in full gear, which is mean, but because it's usually pretty hot. But I know in the Southwest, we always try to have some sort of beverages along the way, whether it's Gatorade, water, but a lot of the routes are also self-sufficient, where they carry their own. I know Dayton is, and the reason I just happen to be the area that I'm familiar with, Cincinnati and their motors are just amazing. The Ohio State Patrol all over the state is hands down. Their participation is enormous. But their motors, whenever they can, the motors that come through Dayton, Cincinnati, all the way into Hilliard, all of that. I mean, they're just a huge help.
I'll chime in too. Columbus has always been a big
Yes.
resource for us here in Central Ohio. They do a flyover, so whenever we run into the stadium, be it Jesse Owens or Ohio Stadium, the helicopter buzzes over, which is always pretty neat. The motorcycles lead the procession in, which the athletes loved it to hear the roar of the motorcycles coming through there. Bicycles, horses. Really, if somebody gets involved, whatever they want to bring to the table, they can almost design it their way. So if the torch run comes near your area, then join in. If it doesn't, create your own leg. Link up with your athletes and do your own run from a school, from a municipal building, something like that. Make it your way. Bring SWAT vehicles, bring cruisers, bicycles, have the community join you. In Hilliard, we really focus on trying to get a big athlete turnout. In my mind, you can have a lot of officers there, and that's really neat, but the cause is the athletes. So when you have the athletes running alongside, carrying the torch with the officers, it just helps really cement that relationship. We'd like to end. We have a company that's really supportive, and at the end, they have food for us. So they give us refreshments and food. We've tried to schedule ours around lunchtime so that everybody can have a community meal and socialize at the end and get to know each other better.
So one of the other things that that I've seen other places do, I know in Springfield, we have a group of athletes that show up that walk around our block, our core block, our police and sheriff's office. And for the first several years that we did that part of it, it was right after Suzanne Wattell was murdered. And she was one of our deputies, and her daughter was special needs. So her daughter would carry the torch around the block. And then she would kick us off for our 5-mile run out to the post. And then the last mile of that run, the athletes join us up again, and either we'll run in from that mile or even like 200 yards out, and they will carry the torch with an officer at that point as well. So it was just kind of there's so many different ways to participate. We wanted to incorporate the athletes more too, so that's why we had that walk section for them as well.
Yeah, I will say Licking County Sheriff's Office is another really great one. Deputy Karen Dunlap is another person that sits on our council, but she drives her car along every single one of the routes in the southeast area. It's an autism awareness wrapped vehicle, and she also has the Special Olympics and the LETR logos on her vehicle. So it's a really cool way, again, to just make those athletes feel comfortable and be able to see the vehicle and be able to be represented.
Yeah, that's great. I am a competition guy. I believe that competition kind of raises the standard, and when you get people competing against each other, everybody gets better. I would love to see departments, offices across the state just kind of compete in how you do it. It could be number of people you have, or just kind of the flair, the vehicles you bring, how you kind of accentuate the way you do it. I think that would be great. If I'm an agency, if I'm a sheriff's office or a police department that has never participated before, what's the timeline look like? When do I need to start contacting people, setting up a route? How do we go about all of that?
Why wait? Start as soon as you hear this. Start reaching out and figuring out where the routes go, how you can get involved in that. If there is a route that comes nearby, there's no time like the present. If not, I'd say we usually hit it pretty full force after the Polar Plunge. So once Polar Plunge season ends, we are diving right into Torch Run and ramping up for that.
You could not have served me up a better segue right there than that, because my next question was going to be, look, we talked a lot about the Torch Run, but we know the Polar Plunge is part of all of this as well.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Polar Plunge. Let's talk about what that is, how that works, and how you use, or how we use, the Polar Plunge to support Special Olympics across Ohio.
Yeah, so the Polar Plunge is exactly what it sounds like. We jump into ice cold water in the middle of winter, and it's a blast. And we fundraise.
Freezing for a reason.
Yes, freezing for a reason. Chill of a lifetime. Those were kind of all the hashtags that we use around that. But again, it's just another one of our fundraisers that again fall under the law enforcement Torch Run event umbrella. So our law enforcement come out. Again, they create teams alongside the local programs, alongside the athletes. They dress up in costumes, just have fun with it and jump. So we have 8 across the state. We partner with some moose lodges throughout the state, so they host 4 of them. And then we have our 3 majors, which take place in downtown Cleveland, here in Columbus at Lower.com Field, and then at the Banks in Cincinnati, all different weekends. And those are actually in pools. So the Moose Lodges and Cedar Creek as well are all in lakes, and then the 3 majors are all into a nice big pool that the fire department typically helps us fill up with some nice cold hydrant water.
That's great. And then how does the fundraising part work?
Very similar to the Torch Run. So again, we just have a fundraising platform. So we create an event page, have all the information on there. We actually kick off the Polar Plunge season officially on November 1st, which is this Friday. So all the event pages will go live. You can sign up a team, you can sign up as an individual, and then you get a specific page and you can share out the link to your page and people can donate.
Okay, so here's the deal. One of my sayings is talk is cheap. Talk is cheap, and let's get in the ring, put your money where your mouth is. So here's what I will do. Any elected sheriff or any chief who is listening to this or who listens to this, who puts together a team and reaches out to me and asks me to be on their Polar Plunge team, I will come jump into a frozen lake with you. So how about that? Let's put our money where our mouth is, and let's go.
All right, you heard it first.
Right
Right here, folks, on Safe and Sound.
Any athlete listening, any community member, if you think this is a great idea for your community, then challenge your chief, challenge your sheriff, challenge somebody in that community, and tell them that Director Wilson is going to jump with them. So get them fired up, get them involved.
Hey, how about that? Again, we talk about competition. Look, if you're an agency that is doing this already, hey, reach out to your mayor. Your mayor needs to lead by example. Reach out to your city council. Reach out to your county commissioners. Get them all involved. What I found, again, I used to be a local elected official. If you challenge people to do things, a lot of times they're going to do it. If you don't challenge them, if you just sit back and expect people to sign up or hope that they're going to sign up, then they're not. But your leaders in your community, they will. If you ask them, a lot of times they'll come in
or donate money.
Yeah, or donate money. That was part of it. Yeah, absolutely.
We also have a 2 chicken to plunge option. While we want people to jump in the pool and have fun, there is the option to be 2 chicken, get a fun little shirt with a chicken on it, still raise money.
Not on this side.
So we have an athlete in Franklin County named Max, and Max is in a wheelchair, and he is awesome. And last year at one of the regional basketball events, I was guilt tripping one of our officers, and Max looked at him and he said, "If I can do it, you can."
Oh, ouch.
And I don't see any reason why that doesn't hold true. Max had to have somebody lift him into the pool. He didn't control when he got out of the pool. Somebody lifted him out. If Max can do it, then anybody else listening can do it as well.
Yeah. And here's been my experience. Every time I've done a couple polar plunges, and Detective Fent, Sandy Fent, is usually the one who talks me into it. But she calls me out. That's what she did. Again, I was an elected official in her jurisdiction. She would call me out. She'd be like, "Hey, we're doing this. You need to do this." And then I'm like, "Okay, let's go." But here's my experience. This is life in general. The anticipation of anything is worse than actually doing it.
100%.
Although I will say, when you jump in that water, it's pretty bad there for a second. I had forgotten. It'd been a couple years since I've done one. I did one last February with you at Caesars Creek. I had forgotten how cold it was. It is shocking, to say the least. But I will say this: it's cold when you're waiting to go. It's extremely cold to the point of it's very cold when you jump in.
Don't scare people.
Yeah, I'm not going to scare people. But
it's exhilarating.
It's exhilarating.
Yes.
And you come out the backside, and it's almost like it resets your central nervous system. You actually feel really good. Mm-hmm. And then you have the endorphins of and the hit, the adrenaline hit, the adrenaline dump of doing it, and it's just a good, almost euphoric feel. And you're around everybody else who just experienced that same thing. It is a great experience. I know for people who don't like the cold or people who are listening to this, may be like, "Man, this sounds terrible," but actually, it ends up being a great experience. And part of what makes it great is a lot of times you're experiencing it with your boys, your girls, people you serve with every day. And it's just, as a team, it's just good to go experience hard things. We got to do hard things sometimes.
Like the camaraderie that it builds when you do that as a shift, or if you're just a civilian, do it with your workplace, with your coworkers. It's for a great cause, and it's something that unites people over our athletes. And so why not sign up this year? Challenge other people in your community. Talk to the high school programs, have the football team challenge the wrestling team, challenge your cross-state rival or your cross-city rivals. Yeah, sign up. Anybody can join.
And from a health and fitness space, I mean, cold plunges are the new fad.
Yes.
And that's what they say.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they are
good
that
for
is
you.
absolutely true. So I'm also going to challenge my law enforcement initiatives group, my coworkers, to the Columbus plunge. So we'll see. She's going to hate me.
Look. It's just about it. Ultimately, it's about supporting a good cause. That's
absolutely
what it is. But the collateral benefit is the camaraderie and the team building that you get from doing it. And then, again, the individual event or individual benefit, you actually feel kind of good when you're done. So it's great. Listen, how can we help? If I'm listening to this and I'm an agency, I'm a police department, sheriff's office, any first responder type agency, what can I do to support this cause? What can I do to participate, and how do I get information about it?
I would say either reach out to myself or Brandon, and we can provide emails as well, or just go to our SOH.org site. Look on the website for Law Enforcement Torch Run. That gives you more information. Actually, our contact information's on there as well. We also have social media. It's at OHLETR. We'll be posting a whole bunch of stuff on there, especially when we go live with the plunge pages on November 1st with links to select the plunge closest to you and participate, whether as a general plunger or too chicken to plunge. I would also say just reach out to your local Special Olympics community, see how you can help them and get involved with our fundraisers, specifically the Polar Plunge. 80% of what our local community-based programs raise with their team goes right back to them to help with uniforms, travel, practice spaces, any kind of funds that they need to support their local program. So as law enforcement partner up with them, that number just rises, and they can then provide even more for their local program.
That's great. So, listen, anything we've talked about as far as email addresses, websites, social media, all of that information will be in the show notes attached to this episode. Haley, Brandon, Sandy, thank you so much for what you do every day for this cause, for the athletes, for the folks who participate in Special Olympics across Ohio, and really to our listeners who are out there who are in the public safety arena. Look, when you do this, when you participate in a torch run, when you participate in a polar plunge, when you help coach a team or you swing by a Special Olympics practice, obviously they're fundraising type events, but what you're giving is your most valuable resource, and that's your time. That's your time, and that's your support, and really, it's love. You're showing those around you, those in your community, those in this specific community, that you love and support them. And again, that's really the greatest gift that you can give somebody else. So we just appreciate everything that you're doing for the folks who participate this. And again, to all of our law enforcement partners out there, all of our first responders, all of our public safety folks out there, thank you for what you do every day to keep our friends, our families, and our communities safe and sound.
The Safe and Sound podcast is recorded by the Ohio Department of Public Safety. Links and more information can be found in this episode's show notes. And for more information on all divisions of the Ohio Department of Public Safety, visit publicsafety.ohio.gov.